Hey, everybody, welcome to Starbase 80. Hang on, let me take that away. I know, I do that every week. It's just dad's crap, just like dad thinks it's funny, so dad's going to do that. I'm ridiculous. Hello, it's Captain John. Welcome to Starbase 80. And I can see him in a little tiny window down on my producer strip here. He's waving, and ladies and gentlemen, there he is. It's Flobo Boyce.
So I was totally kidding about seeing the Orion Girl dance, but now I want to see this. Let's go on. Let's stop the show and let's go into that on loop for the next hour.
Okay, I mean, I'm telling you, this episode that we're talking about, which is part 2 of the Menagerie from the original series TOS, those old scientists,
right?
So classic Star Trek, and we are watching Menagerie Part 2. Have watched it actually, and now we're going to discuss it here on Starbase 80. And okay, hang on. I think I have to go.
This is exclusive footage. You can only find on Paramount Plus or YouTube.
Don't get us in trouble.
I will never get us in trouble. This is not. I'm talking over it so we don't get copyright struck.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, man. I was smart, and I figured out you gotta like mute it.
You have it muted. Great, so you can watch it.
So that's Susan Oliver, and Susan Oliver plays Vina, and this, of course, is one of the illusions that Captain Pike runs into when he's on Talos 4, and I love this supercut. I absolutely love it. Now, Flobo, everything's out of order on this show because my brain's very much out of order. Flobo,
I'm not any better.
Flobo boys, we are looking at television history. Now, do you know the story about the color correction guys?
I remember the thing about the Vulcans or Spock that was supposed to be green or like a yellowish jaundice color, but they kept overcorrecting it. Oh, it was supposed to be green. They kept overcorrecting it, and it became like this weird jaundice yellow because of it.
And I know that story is out there, and I don't know what's true or what's false or whatever. But the other story out there about the color correcting was that it was Susan Oliver, actually, that the guys at the color developing department, they didn't realize she was supposed to be green. They thought they screwed up. So two different shoots, they basically made her pink because they were like, well, you surely did not want this dancing woman to be green.
There's got to be a certain limit there to go, wow, this person looks different than every other person on set. Screw it. Like, are you kidding me?
Well, what was funny about the whole thing was they assumed on the staff, in the production of The Cage was actually what it was called when they shot it. They thought that they didn't make her green enough, and that somehow after getting processed, the green just disappeared. So then they made her super duper green.
And
then apparently the color correction guys had to go into like overtime. Like they literally got all hands on deck to repaint her pink now that she was this color green, which we're seeing on the screen right now. And Susan Oliver, what a sport.
I feel this could have been solved with a phone call. Hey, man, you got to make a mistake? No? Okay. hey, keep it green. All right. Oh, my gosh.
Hey, there has to be a first time for everything.
Better than me, I always say.
Well, that's what I assume was going on. Also, hey, everybody was doing their job. The color correction guys back in those days, as we have discussed previously on the show, back in those days, color TV was a very big deal, 1966. And so they were making sure that all of the color of every show looked great and popped because you were trying to sell more color TVs.
Right.
Flobo, did your family ever have a black and white TV?
We
My family did for a long time.
we did, and it was kind of like the TV in the kitchen, like when they were go out there and making food or whatever. By the time I came around, because I was the youngest in my family, and it was as we how you call it, the Iron Age or the Bronze Age. Well, the late '80s, early '90s was the Wood Age, right? So we had a Zenith TV, but it was like encased in carbonite or just encased in this wooden block that took up the entire living room. The TV screen was like this big. But the wooden block was like a city block long, and it had things on top of flowers and plants. Like it was a weird block.
It was a console, if you will.
Nothing else in it but the TV. What was going on? The stereos were entire apartment complexes. The TVs were huge.
The young people do not know, Flobo, that back in the day, in order to have TV, you had to have a TV tube.
Yes.
It had to be gigantic. It took up a significant portion of your house. And if you weren't supposed to be watching TV and your parents got home and you would shut the TV off and you're like, you got like an upside down school book in front of you and you're like, no, I wasn't watching TV. And all they'd have to do is go over and just put their hand on top of it. And if it was still freaking broiling hot because those TV tubes got so hot, they'd be like, you were watching TV. I can tell.
How about this not depressingly unfun fact? Because it's a fun fact, but it's not really fun. My dad's cousin was a TV repairman. So that was his entire career, was to go to houses to fix these tubes. Now kids don't even know what that is. Because now when TV breaks down, you just throw it away. You just go, oh, well, that was $2,000 wasted. Let's buy another one.
The TV companies won, man, because they're down to the how many times do you hear that story? I feel like it's constant where somebody's like, yeah, I talked to a repair guy. He said it would cost me $2,500 to fix, or I could spend $2,000 and buy a new one. So here's my new one.
USA.
Well done, TV people. Well done. You won that battle. Okay, so talking about Menagerie Part 2. We're talking about where we were at the end of part 1.
Yeah.
Of course, a very quick review. The Menagerie is the regular Star Trek airing of The Cage, which was the first pilot that Gene Roddenberry shot. It was rejected by the network. Many things will appear that were the reasons why it was rejected. They felt Spock was weird, but they also disliked Una, number 1, the Majel Barrett playing the first officer. She was a woman. She was clearly very capable. They actually say in the script that she's like super intelligent. She's kind of super special, but she's also a woman, and it's 1966. So that didn't fly.
Right.
I was actually reading a guy. I wish I remembered his name. I'm sorry, dude. I can't remember your name.
Yeah.
He said, okay, so The Cage was the first pilot and it was rejected. And then they came out with the second pilot, which we've reviewed here on Starbase 80. And that was called Where No Man Has Gone Before. Ooh. And his whole thing was there were too many women in the other pilot, especially number 1, who's commanding people. She's like, stop doing this. Come over here. We're going to do that. Like, she's a command officer. And his whole thing was, once they took her out of the mix, then they were perfectly happy with the guy with pointy ears.
Woo! Imagine that. Someone's watching it like, oh man, this gender equality agenda, having people giving me orders. I mean, it's a different time, but the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Absolutely. There's still lots of people who have problems with women bossing men around on Star Trek. Plenty of fans complaining about that. But you know, as is constantly said, I don't think it's ever not true, which is Star Trek always represented progressivism.
Yeah, I'll say that.
The step forward into the evolution of the human race, which bends towards equality.
Yeah.
Just how it works, folks.
I'm with you.
And you can be afraid of that, but you can't stop it. Progress is progress. It ain't regress. And that's the show. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for coming on, everybody. Woo! And now more Ryan Girl dancing.
Okay, so Spock is on trial. This comes from part 1 of the Menagerie. And he basically is saving Captain Pike, who is a guy wearing a lot of makeup, sitting in a space wheelchair. And yes, as Flobo is alluding, he can communicate by beeping a big yellow light. And he communicates via check engine light.
Which is really weird because even though it was made in the 60s, it was still the future. They had computers off screen. You going to tell me they only made one button for the dude? One button. Not 2, not 3, not some commands. Just
they're
trolling him.
I mean, honestly, the game Simon is like more advanced. Do you remember Simon?
Yeah, I was terrible at it though, but I do remember it.
Oh, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Look that up, guys. Simon. It was fun. It was basically lights and beeping, and if you repeated the pattern of lights and beeping on the thing, then you won the game.
Oh, you can still play it. Nice.
Folks, before PlayStation, everything was pretty prehistoric. We had to work really hard to have fun. You just need to know that.
Mm-hmm.
We had those things, books. I don't know. I haven't picked one up in decades.
Yeah, I think my dad had a book and poked it with a stick and rolled it. No, that was a wheel. I have no idea what books are, but I definitely had a Simon.
Okay, Flobo has actually written a book, so he knows what a book is.
That's all rise or
It's called Graduation Day.
Yeah, available now on Amazon. So I've heard.
Yeah, you got to check out Flobo's book. Okay, woo, we got something done today. I'm thrilled about that. As we're deep into this, I have in my notes here, this is one of my least favorite plots.
Really?
It really is, because the form of this plot is, wait, what's going on now?
Oh, gotcha. I see that.
It's.
I was gonna say like the whole trial is like the more like Star Trek-y thing on the planet. Like there's all trials. That's a plot that's used all the time.
That's a very good point. That's an excellent point. This is very like a lot of what happens in Star Trek happens in a conference room.
Yeah.
There's tables and chairs, space tables and space chairs.
I think one of the most frustrating part in this entire series, that time we did the Enterprise like tribunal or whatever, the Enterprise conference, it was like in a hotel. It was like in a hotel lobby somewhere in Van Nuys, and I was like, wait a minute. This is in space.
over the Intergalactic Motor Lodge.
That's what it was, yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, they tend to do a lot of that on Star Trek. This one is no exception. What's kind of cool about this one is it's all bent around Spock. Why did you mutiny? Why did you steal the Enterprise? Why did you aim the Enterprise at this planet Talos 4 when you knew that going to Talos 4 is the death sentence in Starfleet? It's like the last thing you can do in Starfleet that's an instant death sentence.
Yeah.
Why did you steal Captain Pike? Why did you kidnap him even though he was beeping no, beep, beep the whole time? Why did you do this? And the answer from Spock is the extremely logical, please watch the pilot to Star Trek and you'll understand.
Oh my gosh. We always talk about this too, about how things should be one episode, right? Or not.
Yeah. Right.
I get it. You got the footage laying around. They want to find something to use it. And on some level, it's pretty clever to find a way to wrap this together. But for an episode and a half, of someone be like, oh, check that over there. Check it out over there. How about this? Check it out. Like, why are you here, man? Like, you just tell us. I mean, I could do that in a real trial. Your Honor, check the evidence. I'll be arrested so fast. Guilty. Get his ass out of here.
Can you imagine, though, on top of all that, you had to sit in a makeup chair for hours while they put on your pointed ears so that you could stand in a room and go, please just watch this over and over.
Spock did all his lines in one day, guarantee it. I come back tomorrow.
I mean, if it was a good production, absolutely. They were like, let's shoot all of Leonard's stuff, and then he can get out of those ears and just, sit in his bathrobe, smoke cigarettes, and drink coffee.
Censors.
It was 1966. Oh my God, censors! There were so many Nimoy pronunciations in this one.
I was there for.
I didn't even sit down and write them all down. But oh my God, yes! If you want something mispronounced, ask Mr. Spock to say it. Check your censors, and that'll let you know. So Captain Pike, in the original pilot, of course, is played by Jeffrey Hunter. Jeffrey Hunter later dies. And when they shoot the second pilot, now they've got to look for another captain for the Enterprise. They hire William Shatner. They turn that, as Flobo said, they turn that into canon by saying that Captain Pike was originally the captain of the Enterprise. He was later replaced by Kirk. The science officer was the same. So Mr. Spock, there he is. Mr. Spock had served under Captain Pike, was extremely loyal to him, and that's why they assume that he's doing something underhanded by taking them to Talos 4, kidnapping Captain Pike, taking him there as well. What's going on here? You're pretty much caught up.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Pretty much it.
Done and done. But I get the idea too of like having, okay, if you only have one person who's a link between two, you have to do it. It has to be a Spock Center episode. That I get. And I don't want to jump ahead because I want to rant and rave or rave. But it just seems very contrived that somebody gets up, as my dad's friends will say, get a wild hair up his ass and start just being totally against character for the sake of a single plot, just to be like, see you next week. Like, what?
that is okay. I'm gonna have to say that is crazy like a fox. I will criticize Gene Roddenberry all day. As a matter of fact, I've got a lot up the old sleeve right now just from this episode. Holy cow, it's so Gene Roddenberry, this episode. Written by Gene Roddenberry. He's the only name on this. So we can definitely say anything you notice here, you're noticing about Gene Roddenberry. He's very clever. He's very clever because he understands that the gimmick, if you will, of Star Trek is Mr. Spock. What makes this show different from all other shows? We've got a pointy-eared alien as a regular.
Okay.
And so this, by putting Mr. Spock in this position of he's the bad guy, both parts 1 and 2, he's the bad guy. This is crazy. They keep arguing it couldn't possibly be this. Takes a lot of time for them to argue that. They do a lot of scenes where it's just like, no way, no way. No way. No way.
Why would we do this?
He wouldn't do this. A Vulcan wouldn't do this. They don't lie. They don't feel emotion. They're only logical. And every time they bring this to him, he says, yes, I am guilty. I am a mutineer. Please watch this TV pilot.
Yeah, the kind of filler you only see in a CW show. There's no way. This doesn't make any sense. Of course it doesn't make any sense. But let's talk about why it doesn't make any sense.
We need more scenes about how it doesn't make sense.
Right. What's going on?
Why did I stop Smallville? Because I was so tired of seeing this scene over and over again. You never tell the whole truth, Clark. I guess I'm not worth it.
I was trying to protect you. Protect me from what?
You won't kill me. So, having stretched everything out, so it's nice and thin. We do get what's going on the planet, and it starts to get okay. Now, when did you first see this episode, Flobo? Because I think you've seen this one before now, right?
I've seen the cage before, so this is the first time I've seen the repackaging of it in the Menagerie.
Right. When you saw the cage, how old were you? It was a few
Oh
years
no,
ago.
yeah, it was the same. Me catching up on Star Trek after Discovery, so
Ah,
2019. So how old was I then? 33,
yeah. Okay, so I
34.
was. I'm gonna go. I was either 7 or 8 when I first
Oh,
saw it.
it's a Borges of Tears.
So let's see if my impressions mirrored your impressions, and I'm going to tell you what I thought. Okay, so there is a point where it becomes quite clear that this is a menagerie. This is a zoo. There are the planet has not been able to host life, but life is starting to spring up on it.
Mhm.
And something terrible had happened to this planet. They don't know. So now that Captain Pike is in this cell and he hates it and he's trying to break out, and they bring Vina in there with him, and he's like, "Oh, I'm supposed to just be Adam to her Eve? Well, I'm not going to do it." Okay, I'm like 7 years old and I'm like, "I would do it. Oh my god, she's so pretty. Look at her. She likes
I'm,
you. What's wrong with you, man?"
she's no Winnie Cooper, but I guess I would
I
as
mean,
well. Yeah.
well, for me, actually, it was Holly from Land of the Lost. That was
I
one
have
of
to look
my.
this one up. This is why I have the tabs open on these shows.
Oh, dude, once you see the picture, you're gonna be like, "Oh, John, you were the most basic bitch in the universe."
You're so basic.
I am fucking crazy.
Yeah, the tablecloth shirt. That's so cute.
She's got the crazy tight braids, and there's no way those are real braids. So,
Oh
like,
no.
every week they just slap this like wig on her head with these crazy tight braids. Oh my god, I had the biggest crush on her.
Catholic Coleman. Okay. 6 years old. All right. Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Older woman too.
Yeah.
For me. Um, okay, so I was watching that. Later, they are going to do a rescue mission. They know that the Telosians have been living under the surface of their planet, which, as I said, has been unlivable for a long time. So they're going to beam in this rescue team. So it's like 4 burly men. Number 1, played by Majel Barrett, Una, woman. And I love this. J.M. Colt, Yeoman Colt, the redhead.
Yeah. Oh.
So 4 big burly guys, or guys ready for a fight. Una, Colt, they're both women. Only the women get beamed down. They get beamed directly into the cage, into the cell, and now Jeffrey Hunter, Captain Pike, has. And this is me at 7 years old. Wow, he's got one of each hair color.
Wow, what is going on over there? Well, it's a different time, I guess. Kids are free
Different
range
time,
back then.
Different time, man. I was raised on sexy television, and
I mean, I'm not wrong with that.
and I remember
looking Island too. Also choices. So
yeah. Oh, dude. I mean, the holy trinity of hotties was something that haunted the 60s and 70s. Charlie's Angels.
Oh yeah, yeah.
3 gorgeous women. Basically, yeah, two brunettes and a blonde. That's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was my favorite comedy? Three's Company.
I was going to say that was a little bit before my time. My brother was into that thing a lot more than I was, but even then, it was like, yeah, they're on that bike pretty suggestively.
My favorite is Suzanne Summers in the opening. She's like sunbathing, lying on her tummy, and Joyce DeWitt is watering a plant. She accidentally splashes some on Suzanne Summers. Suzanne Summers turns over, laughs, and as she laughs, she uses her arms to squeeze the girls together.
Well, yeah.
And my brain went.
I can't believe they're allowing this.
I need to watch this show every week.
You're like looking around your shoulder, like, is dad awake on the couch? No, he's sleeping. All right.
Oh no, this is when I had the black and white TV in my room.
Even better.
Yeah.
Even better.
And
look at these images, man. Different
so
times.
Sexy to me. Oh, different times, man. I'm telling you, it's all pre-internet, folks. I know it seems bizarre to you, but the fact is, it's pre-internet. We took what we could get.
That is definitely true. Julie's still
Uh,
lit. Looks like Liza
so
Minnelli in that picture.
there's a lot of sexiness going on. We also get to see kind of early on an important scene from the cage, which they referred to. Uh, and I've always found that weird writing. I don't know how you feel about that as a writer, Flobo, but what we've seen in the original pilot was they refer to the mission that they just came from and how violent it was. He actually loses his yeoman. His yeoman gets killed in that
Right.
other one. His yeoman is replaced, and yeoman in this case, on Starfleet Starship, it really means the person who brings you the clipboard.
Right. Yeah.
It's the secretary's job. So Colt actually replaces that yeoman, and she kind of figures heavily into this thing because later when the aliens bring her to the cell, they say, "You will breed very well with these three women." Vina is awesome. Una is super intelligent, and she will give you many intelligent offspring. And then they go to J.M. Colt, the redhead,
Yeah.
and they say, this one is young and has a high level of female drives.
I mean, it's maybe they figured that out.
What the damn? What the what?
I'm not getting in trouble. You're not going to cancel me. Nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to say what a line that was.
Now, is it here? Now, the idea for the original series was that Yeoman Colt, her last name is Colt. Oh my God. She was going to be a regular. The following character biography appeared in the series proposal for Star Trek. Colt, the captain's yeoman. Except for problems in naval parlance, J.M. Colt would be called a yo woman. Hang on.
Get it?
Got a sip from my highball.
Oh, that's progression.
With a strip queen figure.
What?
Even a uniform cannot hide.
It's a strip queen.
Colt serves as captain's secretary, reporter, bookkeeper, and with surprising efficiency. She's surprisingly competent.
What is a strip queen? Because that would help me out here. like a strip mall queen, or you're so good at stripping, you're at queen level. Is there like a queen hierarchy?
Apparently, she is royalty among strippers. There's another another note about her title. Okay. All right. This is again in the literature they're using to sell the series. About 20, Colt is pert and shapely, but carries herself with trained precision. So the idea is va-va-voom. And she's also good at what she does.
This is actually a good question to ask you because you're not because you're a woman, but like because you're an actor, right? You get a breakdown. Is this something like that? Hey, we're looking for somebody ruggedly handsome, mid-40s, good sense of the world, but huge wang in the pants. Do you feel a little bit like offended? Or you go, well, that's definitely me. I'm gonna go show up. Can't let my people disappointed. Like what?
I have no idea what that's like because when you're an actor like me, shaped like me, yes, I've been asked to do nudity many times, but it was always this. We need you to be the guy in the stand who painted himself of the football team colors. Now you need Pepto-Bismol.
Get the guy to be green with the Orion girl, or is it a different shade?
Well, I mean, you got to do two, right? It's got to be two colors so that you're a team. Right. You're following a team. So yeah, it might be like yellow and green. Could easily be purple and gold.
Is that a real gig? Did you really do
that? Several times I was asked to audition for that. And the first time I went in for it and they said, yeah, take your shirt off. And I went, wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're going to be doing the whole thing, basically wearing a bathing suit.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, okay, I'll be leaving now. Like, wait, what? You're leaving? This is Hollywood. You can't just leave.
They're like,
And
quick,
I
find me a strip king. We need one stat.
call back, ladies and gentlemen. That is a damn call back.
He left. He bailed.
We get okay. So skipping back, we get the scene where they are at the warlord's palace.
Okay.
And he knows it's an illusion at this point. And Vena's like, yeah, but it can still hurt you. And then the big bad guy who apparently killed a lot of people on their last mission is there. And he's basically a basketball player wearing goofy teeth, dressed like a Viking.
Yeah, space. Things happen, man. Have you heard of a space dentist? I haven't.
But a space Viking with big, giant, oversized teeth, that's par for the course.
Hey, man, it's a season 1 vibe. Everything sticks.
and that's very much where we were. So Pike does battle him, does manage to get him to leap onto Pike while Pike uses a pike to kill him.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And which didn't happen before, I guess. Anyway, it all gets erased, just like everything. Every one of these illusions, they happen and then suddenly they don't happen. They also need Pike for some reason to share his sort of complicated daydreams and stuff. And Pike figures out that when he feels absolute hate, which is also hilarious because our hero at one point is like, all I could picture was putting my hands around the neck of that little alien and squeezing it until he was dead. And while he's picturing that, the aliens are like, wait, what's this? Wait, I don't know what this is.
Right.
Okay. All right. So like base emotions are not, they can't really do much with that. Okay. Vena, did you get the feeling at this point in the story that Vena was real? She's not part of the illusion.
So I thought she was real, but I thought she was going to be like an insider. Like I was a human first, but muhahaha. So I was definitely thrown for a loop with the actual twist, but I didn't see it coming.
Yeah. I have to say that kind of worked for me too. As we find out more and more things, we do find out the constant in all of these illusions is Vena, because Vena's actually real. And then we get to the very uncomplicated, very Gene Roddenberry plot point, which is the planet had been destroyed by Telosians. These new Telosians, modern Telosians, are ancestors of those original guys who destroyed everything on the planet. They want to repopulate the planet, and they're using it with all of the life forms that they kidnap.
Right.
Pretty good plot.
Seems pretty standard.
Sure, you could have stolen that from Twilight Zone like that. It's
right.
It's not complicated.
I think that to me was the biggest crime. After watching The Cage straight, it was like if someone gave this to me, I'm like, "Hey, Star Trek," I'd be like, "Well, that's a good movie of the week." Like what I wouldn't be compelled to say, "Give it 7 seasons, y'all." Like, but I understand why that's cool now, going back and repurposing the footage and all that.
I mean, one of the things that gets lost in sort of the history of Star Trek is how unlike any other show Star Trek was. Lost in Space was out there, but it was comedy. It was after the first season or second season, they were just like, let's just make it all about Dr. Smith going, for some reason
that was on point.
That's good stuff. Yeah. Well, I am an actor, sir.
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely true. You're the most well-versed actor here. I'm actually a hack.
and yet Hollywood wants Flobo because he's awesome and real. And I'm a big phony.
They do not want me. I can't get arrested in this town.
They don't know they want you. That's the problem.
Fair enough.
That's the problem. We're working on that. So we've got a couple more illusions that happen. One is what if things were very different? What if you were at home, Captain Pike? And so we see like futuristic buildings in the background, sort of a fake forest in the foreground with a couple of horses. So we know that Captain Pike is a horse guy, which is interesting because so is Captain Kirk.
Who doesn't like horses?
They like horses. Guys, good with horses. Well,
it's like that episode of New Girl where like they got rid of Coach and Winston. Well, Coach got to another sitcom instead of brought in Winston, who was the same but different. You know, it's like, hey, you like basketball? You like basketball? You're both black guys, but you're different. So I could totally see that. Like, oh yeah, Pike, Kirk with Pike tendencies.
I mean that they're not terribly dissimilar. Actually, it's funny because they both came from movies. Jeffrey Hunter had played Jesus.
Oh wow!
And William Shatner had been in Judgment at Nuremberg. So they had some nice nice entries on the resume.
Right, same serious question. Just jump in here. We'll talk about like special roles. When someone plays Jesus, right? Does that tend to not help their careers? Like, cause it's something like a Macbeth situation, right? Jim Caviezel, I remember, was in Passion, but like he was never huge after doing that.
It was stunt casting back in the day. So the greatest story ever told, I believe, Jesus is played by Max von Sydow.
Yeah.
A very young Max von Sydow, I believe. I think it had a certain amount of cachet to it. I don't think it was box office poison necessarily.
Sure.
And you got to remember, in the 50s, there was a big period of what they call sword and sandals, but it tended to be biblical movies. Ben-Hur, greatest story ever told. Several more I cannot name because my memory is just not working right now.
Man for All Seasons was not a sword and sandal, but it had one of those old school vibes.
What you had was a lot of references to sort of traditional Christianity, and part of that, I can't prove it. I should write a paper on it, and then I could prove it. But part of that was because in the 50s, communism was so like no to communism that one way you did that was you pushed a lot of Christianity.
That makes sense. Yes, totally makes sense.
That's when the phrase "under God" got added to the Pledge of Allegiance
and our money,
and by sort of sealing things with Christianity, you just guaranteed it was not communist.
Yep.
Hey man,
see, you can learn something on this show. Look at us.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, sorry I derailed the show, but you're saying
no. Because seriously, where were the rails?
I mean, they're somewhere here.
We get the Orion girl scene, which we watched earlier, and I got rid of it, so we can't see it again. I know I shouldn't have done that. What's wrong with me? I'm not a very good producer. Really not.
Dude, I am.
So now we see Vina as an Orion girl. We're sort of, we're kind of flipping channels at this point with the illusions.
Yeah.
And we do get down to the point of somehow Pike is able to trick one of the, what was I calling them? It's the giant head little aliens.
Right.
And hey, again, it's a pilot for a science fiction show. I totally understand making the big brain head aliens. They're tiny. They're little, they're BEM. They're a variation of bug-eyed monster.
Okay.
I do love that there's a lot of choking and no safe words.
Oh, geez, I knew it. Star Trek After Dark. That's
how much choking does he do to this alien? He chokes this alien a lot.
It's actually in my notes too. It's like this definitely has a lot of kink stuff happening in this one.
I mean, the alien's got a little body with a big head. And you can't stop choking it. Look, I know it's Sunday morning when we're showing this. And I'm very sorry.
Are we sorry though?
Oh, so dirty. This episode is so dirty.
If you think about it,
yeah. Yep. So they think that they're firing their weapons and their weapons aren't working, but they're like, wait a minute, we're smart. Maybe our weapons are working, but the illusion is fooling us, thinking that we're not. And finally, after choking the alien a little more, ding,
God.
the alien shows them that, yes, actually, all of their laser beams, all of their ray guns worked. They've blown up all kinds of things, but they didn't know about it. And here we go. They're ready to leave. They're ready to go. And as basically Captain Pike says, we're done here, let's go, Vina says, I can't. And that's when the Keeper, who's the main alien that we've been dealing with, removes the illusion of Vina, and we find out that she's been in a terrible accident. She has like a boxer's broken nose. It's got like a big crease down the face. Got one wonky eye, and she's a hunchback. As if they couldn't jack her up enough.
Yeah, I'm bringing up the picture here now. So
Go ahead.
Let's talk about it. So I get it. The idea is that, they put her back together, but they don't really know what a human looked like.
Right.
But the more you think about it, the more like, bro, if you can do an illusion, you could use it as like tracing paper to like figure out what to do and say, hey, why doesn't mine look like that? You're just being a bunch of jerks is what you're doing. Because you can, okay. Well, I feel like they could have done a better job.
The basic story is that the sort of cover story they used earlier, which was part of an illusion, was actually true, which was a ship did crash. There was one human aboard. It was Vina. They did try to put her back together, but they didn't know what human beings looked like. So they just kind of fudged it. And to Flobo's credit, I have to ask the same question. Like, you don't know what when you bisect something and either side is the same. What
Symmetry?
Symmetry. Thank you. One of those words I can never remember.
You got bisect right, but didn't know symmetry. I was like, well, you cut things in two.
Welcome to my brain. It's a terrible place. I hate it here.
It's great. Move in.
Symmetry. You don't know what symmetry is? You can't do symmetry. You don't know what a hunchback is? You were like, well, I don't know. Let's kind of round it down, and I guess she's a hunchback.
By the way, so tragic.
If I'm very politically incorrect by using the phrase hunchback, please forgive me. I mean,
to be fair, it's like an enlarged shoulder from what I can tell. So maybe. That's her bailout. That's her rope.
It's a really bad look. And that's what we get. She can live there and be happy because they can make her forget what she actually looks like. Yeah. And now back to the Menagerie Part 2. The modern day Captain Pike is trapped inside his body. He's absolutely miserable. And the whole reason why Spock did all of this was because he knew he could get Captain Pike to the Telosians, and the Telosians would let him spend his remaining years there under the illusion that he is fully functional.
Yeah.
Now, it's on the surface, it's a nice story, but is it though, Flobo?
When the scene happens and they use the redone footage of Pike grabbing Vina by the hand and going down, I was like, man, that's pretty nice. And you're kind of like, like after the show goes off and you're like, wait, so let me get this right. Spock decides to be court-martialed to spare one dude's fate who literally said he didn't want to do it against a hostile race in a part of space where you can get killed legally. This makes absolutely 0% sense. But Star Trek, see you next week. Like, what? Hello? What the come on?
Okay. A, beautifully put. B, all of this is, you ever hear this phrase? I heard it as a sort of New York kind of a Yiddish kind of a phrase, but it was a New York kind of a phrase, which is from hunger.
I haven't.
They're coming from hunger. They're coming. it's the sort of phrase you use when somebody is in a negotiation and they settle too low.
Oh,
And you
yeah.
go, because you're coming from hunger. You're so
Right.
desperate, you're letting them take advantage of you. In this case, the hunger is they were having a hard time coming in on time with their shows. And so they kind of needed to do something really quick to buy them a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Also, as Flobo had mentioned earlier, they spent a lot of money on this pilot, and they didn't want that money to just go nowhere. They wanted
Right.
to make some use of it. So, Gene Roddenberry, the man who created Star Trek, the creator of this universe, basically said, I'm going to find a way to write a modern story about this captain of the past, and then we'll show his story. And of course, they make it very important, like, no, you must watch this.
Yeah.
Watch this.
Yeah.
So they make it very important that everyone watch the pilot and then figure out what's going to happen next, which is, yeah, they're taking him back to this planet where the zookeepers are actually really nice. And it's really about populating the planet again. I wonder, though, if this, jacked up Vina and this wheelchair bound Christopher Pike can actually, maybe they're not going to be
Right.
able to repopulate the planet. And so maybe it's just the nice rest home.
That's what it felt like. It felt like they were going to repopulate anything. It looked like it was kind of like, hey, look, you are incapacitated, but not anymore. Here, make yourself comfortable. This is what I'm saying. It was a cool moment, but the more you thought about it, to get there,
Yeah.
I would much rather them break the story by having a Talos explorer find Pike and they come back. And that become the battle. Then Pike going, no, leave me here. I like it. Then Spock being like, all right, we're going to wheel you off this cliff.
I absolutely agree. And this is so done on the cheap. Really, like the only guest star on this is the Commodore, who is very much into, no, we're going to have this trial of Spock. And Spock is up for court-martial and possibly the death sentence. And then we find out at the end, he was just an illusion. He actually, Jose Mendez wasn't there at all. Commodore Mendez was back in his office. And then we hear basically a cablegram from him that's like, oh, the Telosians told us everything. Yeah, it's cool. Spock's cool. Don't worry. Nobody's mad. Everybody's happy for Captain Pike. It's all cool.
This is what we're talking about. You spent me 2 hours stretching everything out. And then I'm like, oh, by the way, here you go.
It's all good. Oh, you know what? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, no fallout, no implications. Peace out. And then next week, Pike would never exist again. So what was the point?
And I have to say, because the point was, and it's a sad point, because the point was, let's save a little money. They actually used the publicity stills that they originally had made for the Cage. They used them to send out for the Menagerie. So almost nothing went to waste from the original pilot, which is kind of cool. I mean, from a producer standpoint, you've been producing a lot of shows, Flobo.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a repurposing. That's a nice little thing.
I can't knock that, but the real crime is the length of it. If you're going to give me a clip show, if a 2-part clip show happens, that show should be canceled. Absolutely. there's no reason for it. So and after all that time of stretching the plot thin, at the end where you can take time and have those philosophical discussions, just go, don't worry about it. We're fine.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is now all these years later, so 50-something-ish, I don't know, years later, we can look back on it knowing that Strange New Worlds is coming up. It is the Captain Pike show. And they have already told us on Discovery, where Captain Pike, was on season 2. They've already told us that he is going to suffer that fate where he is wheelchair bound and he is, destroyed by radiation and a man barely alive. And that has brought all of this sort of heaviness to Pike, who was kind of a light character on Discovery up to that point.
Yeah.
So
Can't wait to see how that turns out, really. Because, I mean, it could be very well done, like almost like the first season of Empire, where you know your end's going to be, or even first season of Picard. That ticking time clock, even though I have my issues with Picard, it's pretty cool to say, hey, look, you have this procedure that may kill you. But the last thing you want to do, like we say in CW, is make that the thing, right? If it becomes a thing week in, week out, then it becomes to be too much. But I don't know. I like it.
It's hanging over Pike's head, and that's kind of interesting. Let's see what they do with it.
I'll take that over like daddy issues because we're done with that with new Trek. So many family issues. Give me someone's gonna die and we're fine.
I get it. Parents don't like you all the time. I get it. Yeah, no one said they were proud of you, but you still became a great person. I get it.
Yeah, let's make Picard mom issues too. Wait, what? Why?
And that was interesting on Picard season 2 because they were like, yeah, it's not what you thought it was. And moving on. Like, wait, what? What? But that's very much Picard season 2 right now.
The whole series has been played off like a Kevin Eubanks thing.
Avery Brooks says that Star Trek should always be jazz, so I don't know that that's a bad thing.
Kevin Eubanks is the sexual band.
All right, Flobo, we are at the end of this episode. What have you got left on the notepad? Anything to share?
Yeah, for sure. Cool flashback, bro. But how this is even more egregious watching people watch a movie for 2 straight weeks. How are they filming illusions? What camera picks up illusions? Can someone help me figure that out?
That's so funny.
Star Trek After Dark, the throbbing penis head to Talos 4. That was a captain joke. I can't get mad at that. Man, if I had $1 every time a woman said she was a human and disappeared, boy, let me tell you. To be fair, green chicks are hot. I'd weaken too. And Menagerie, a cage. I get it now. That's what I have this week. It took me 30 years, but I got it.
I mean, what's so funny is, yeah, they called the repackaged version of the cage, they called the Menagerie. At one point, yeah, Jeffrey Hunter says, so we're in some sort of menagerie, a cage.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I get it.
We're in the stars on some sort of trek.
Right. That's good writing right there.
This ship is setting forth on some sort of enterprise. Oh, good Lord. Okay, stop hitting the hammer on the head. You've hit it enough.
Right.
Let's see. I've got nothing in my notes.
Cool.
I've done it all. Although I have to admit, the everyone sitting around watching someone else's illusions. How does that work?
I have no idea.
What's the camera setting for? I need to see what Flobo's seeing.
I have no idea.
Okay, so that's a great question. Any tabs?
I have a lot of them, but none of them make any sense out of context.
Okay.
I have this article about Will Shatner's fallout with DeForest Kelly. Basically, that he made fun of his dead dog, and this is an actual quote for this. He says, "My dog hit a sprinkler and dropped dead. I laughed, and he didn't talk to me for 2 years." I was like, decades later, Shatner still finds the tragic incident amusing. Adding, "I think Dobermans are a dog. Chihuahua is a rat." This is from contactmusic.com. Yeah,
he's bad mouthing chihuahuas on top of the dead dog.
Yeah, DeForest Kelly took it to the grave. It seems like.
I mean, I would too. I'm sorry, chihuahuas are dogs, man. Chihuahuas, they're not the nicest dogs in the world. I get that, but oh, come on now. Doberman Pinscher's a dog.
Chihuahua's a rat.
Yeah, I noticed you really like the German dog.
Oh, geez. Okay. Read these tabs at your own peril. Simon's available for $30 on Amazon and eBay. Gonna probably get a couple after this. I have a couple fan sites for Kathy Coleman from Lands of the Lost. Lost in Space, Lands of the Lost. That's one of your favorites. Una, I want to read her up on her in front of Strange New Worlds. A Man for All Seasons, and this dope 8x10 photo of Hunchback Vina. That's what I'm gonna see right after we get off the air. That's what I got saved.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Starbase 80. Pretty good for an episode where I said, man, if we can do longer than 15 minutes, I'll be shocked.
Hey, we talk.
Mr. Boyce, you are, as always, an absolute revelation of great television programming.
Oh, thanks, Cap. But really,
Uh,
what setting is illusions? No.
and how can people find you, sir? And
Oh, well,
all the various ways they can.
social media at Flowable Boyce. That's on Twitter and on Instagram. I have a Patreon if you want to see me ramble and make cool video content. Patreon.com/Flowable Boyce. And as you mentioned, Michelle, my book, Graduation Day Advice for College Graduates and Young Adults, available on Amazon.com. Just put Graduation Day in my name, or it should come up.
Yes. All right, folks. That'll do it for this weekend's episode of Starbase 80. Be sure to join us next week, and that would be 11 a.m. on our West Coast and 2 p.m. on our East Coast. I always like to say Beast Coast, but that's not a thing.
You can make it a thing.
So 11 a.m. on the Best Coast and 2 p.m. on the Beast Coast.
I love it.
And my friends, that's going to do it. Thank you, Flowable Boyce, as always. Best damn EXO in the fleet. Well, thank you. Good night.
Hey!
Good morning. I said good morning, sir.